We'll get in the back. All right, Coach, whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, we made too many mistakes today. We knew the margin of error was going to be small. I do think we can coach better, all three parts of our team. I think, obviously, looking the players in the eye after the game, I think they know that they can play better as well. And ultimately, Georgia's got a good football team. They've got good personnel. They've got a good coaching staff. They've got veteran players that have been in their system, and they played well today. We made too many critical mistakes. I think in particular the two huge mistakes in the first half allowed the game to kind of get out of control to some degree. I do think that kids continued to play hard. And I do think we have a group that has character. I think ultimately when you fail in the game of football and in life, you got an opportunity to learn. How do you get wiser? You make mistakes along the way. How do you get smarter? How do you get better at what you do? How do you continue to grow and develop? Ultimately, you got to go through some tough times. You got to make mistakes along the way. And we did today. Credit to Georgia, they beat us today. I do think that this group will respond the right way. I think ultimately as a staff and as a group of a team, being a man and taking ownership of things that you can do better, and I think ultimately we can compromise our character, or we can choose character. We can go about our business here, and there's no sympathy. You guys certainly don't have any sympathy for us, and in our league, there's no sympathy. You got to turn the page, and you got to get ready to go the next week. So we'll go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. It's important that the experience that we had today, that we learn from that, all parts of our organization, and certainly the players in that locker room. I do think we did some good things today, but ultimately not enough, and certainly not with consistency. We made too many errors, right? The sack fumble and the block punt in particular, those two, it's a 14-point swing and a ton of momentum. So I know you got questions, so what do we got here?
We'll start with Mark, then your left, Coach.
Hey, Billy, can you just take us through the thinking on the 4th and 1 at your own 34, I guess it was pretty early there. And did you think you got a bad spot on the 3rd down at the end of the first quarter?
Yeah, no, I think one was a go. And ultimately I think at that point in the game we felt like there was going to be a point total that we needed to get to win the game, and felt we had a good play. I think we're close there. Whether or not the spot was right, I don't know. Our league's got really good people. They got people back in Birmingham reviewing all that information. So ultimately, the officials, they didn't have a huge impact on today. It didn't have much to do with them.
Throwing the ball there versus, it's 4th and inches. Does that just show a little bit about
Yeah,
maybe your concerns
it was
against?
a little less than a full yard. It wasn't inches.
Okay. Does it show you a little bit about your concern about how daunting their front can be, or has
No,
been?
ultimately I think that, I've got conviction about the call. You can go a lot of different directions. We can sit here. That's one of many plays today that probably we'd like to have back, but it's not necessarily about the plays at times. It's about the players. It's about the execution. We can certainly call better plays at times today, but ultimately it comes down to the execution of the play.
Edgar.
Billy, you guys had a very fast start, impressive start. Where do you think the momentum kind of shifted?
Yeah, I think if you look at that second, third, fourth possession there, we made some mistakes. We got behind the sticks. We had a penalty. We got sacked. Those in particular. I do think that we felt like we needed to throw it at times in the game, and we did rush the ball effectively at times. In particular, early, thought we had some good concepts, but we got off schedule, and then ultimately we lived in the second and long, third and long. Their second, third, fourth, fifth possession of the game. A lot of those are long yardages. You just got to, when you play that group, you got to stay on schedule so you can have some balance.
And Georgia, just obviously is the gold standard in the league. what do you take away from just in the big picture wise on? the
Yeah, I
offensive-
think it all matters. I mean, I think every single part of what we do matters. The evaluation of players matters, the recruitment of players matter. Ultimately, you need continuity in system, you need to develop players. This is a developmental game. You know, you need players in your system for multiple years. You know, I do think that, you know, ultimately a set of intangibles, a set of values that I think resonate with the players, that they play with effort, they play with toughness, they play with discipline. You know, it all matters. I mean, and they're a good example of that. You know, I think this is the 8th year for Kirby. And look, I mean, we've got work to do to chase them down. I mean, there's no denying that, right? So, you know, and we're in the middle of that process, in the middle of that journey, you know, so it causes you to respect all parts of, you know, building a football team, you know, ultimately. And I think there's a number of things that can be done better, you know, from a just game day, situational football. You know, they do it all well. And today we gave them a little bit too much.
Nick?
I mean, there's no sympathy medal or anything like that, but what can you take positively away from this game?
You know, I thought we showed some fight early. You know, I mean, I thought we continued to scrap in the game. You know, we continued. You know, I think ultimately, you know, 14 points. You know, you basically had 2 critical errors that led to 14 points. You know, short fields. I mean, the recipe for the game was to not do that. You know, and try to get them to do that. You know, and ultimately that didn't happen today. So. You know, the game got out of control as a result of some critical errors. You know, and I think when we go back and watch it, we're going to see, we know exactly what happened, and I think we've got to take ownership of that.
And Trey was clearly a big part of the game plan. He was something that Kirby even had mentioned when he wasn't asked about and clearly knew about. Just how important was it for him and the other freshmen, TJ Searcy, guys like that, to get an experience like this?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm kind of describing here. You know, I think ultimately we all can agree in this room, you're some of the best at what you do, you know, and I think ultimately you have experience. Experience got you here. And I think that's important for our staff, but it's invaluable for young players, you know. You know, I think that I'm hopeful that they'll take what they learned today and go back to work. You know, I think that our team will do that. I've got a ton of confidence. They know we care about them. This group will get up and go back to work.
Kevin?
The pass defense of McConkey hurt you a lot of times. Just the evaluation of the secondary and then the inability also to make Carson uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I mean, I certainly couldn't get him off his spot much. You know, I thought they protected him well, and then certainly there were guys open, you know, even in man coverage at times. So, you know, that's what I'm kind of getting at here relative to we can help as a staff conceptually. You know, we can do more, and then ultimately players had opportunities today. You know, I think it's a combination of all of it together.
Graham?
Good question. McConkey's a good player, though. He's been a good player for a long time.
Really, I know these were second half injuries, but we saw Shamar James injured in warm-ups. Are you able to provide any update on either him or Kingsley?
Yeah, no, Kingsley, I think Kingsley's okay. I think he, same ankle, aggravated him a little bit there. Princey did have, you know, he did have a little incident pre-game. Shamar, sorry. Yeah, so he was able to play. It's certainly a little bit of a setback there late. I do think it'll be something we'll be evaluating, you know, big picture wise for him. It is a prior injury. It's an injury that he had before in high school that kind of came to life today a little bit. So we'll give you more of an update in the middle of the week there.
Time for a few more, Mike?
Yeah, Coach, because they're so good and so talented, do you sometimes feel you have to coach a little riskier maybe than if you were facing?
No, I don't feel that way at all. You know, I feel like we need to eliminate sack fumbles on short fields and not get punch blocked. You know, those have nothing to do with coaching risky. I think if we do those things well, it's probably a little bit closer game going into the locker room at halftime. You know, playing from behind is a challenge, right? Ultimately, I think that was the big issue today.
We're gonna finish with Jacob.
Billy, just offensive line play. What would you evaluate from this contest and just the health of the unit, the challenges that they face? Where do you feel like they're at after watching today?
Yeah, no, I think we struggled to protect them a little bit at times, but I also think they covered us pretty good. You know, some of those we're holding the ball. I think if we're throwing the ball 3 hitch on time, there's short edges, we're climbing. Guy gets a little bit of his elbow there, ball comes out. I mean, they made him move a little bit, but listen, it's a combination of the rush and the coverage, right? It's not one or the other. And I don't think there was any, just purely immediate sacks. I think it's a combination of the rush and coverage. I mean, this is the game we play, right? And when you're playing a team that can cover you and has good rushers and they have a good plan, the key to the drill is you try to avoid those, right? You don't want to live in 2nd and long, get back on track, 3rd and 7 to 10, 11 plus. Those are tough downs for any football team, and certainly when you've got good cover guys and good rushers, that can cause problems for you. But look, we ran the ball effectively at times today. I don't think we had a ton of mental errors. They've got a long, heavy-handed group up front, and I think the 2 inside backers do a good job. I think that's the strength of their defensive group, and ultimately, when we watch the tape, I'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more Monday. But there's no doubt. I mean, the group we have, we can't live in that world. We need to stay on schedule, avoid penalties, avoid negative plays and tackles for loss.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.